Hi, I'm Phyllis. My website is southernfrugal.com. Tonight we're going to make a pumpkin pound cake. And this recipe is coming from a viewer, Patricia Redick. It sounds really good to me, and you're going to use a whole 15-ounce can of pumpkin. Now, I got the pumpkin, it was on sale, $1 a can, so I just ended up getting 3 of them. So anyway, we're going to make this pound cake. So the first thing to do, I'm just reading from the recipe, you want 2 sticks of butter, 2 cups of brown sugar, and so what you're going to do is, let me read this, well, we want to preheat our oven. I've already got mine preheated to 350 degrees, and I'm going to actually use a pound cake pan rather than my Bundt pan, because this pan's a little bit bigger than my Bundt pan, but I think you can do it in a Bundt pan. So the first thing we want to do is use 2 cups of brown sugar and 2 sticks of butter, and we want to cream those together. So let me get that in. Now, I've had my butter sitting out, but it's a little chilly in here tonight, and it's really not that soft like it would be if it was totally in the summertime. Alright, and I'm going to go ahead and add this 2 cups of, I'm using dark brown sugar. She didn't say which kind to use, but I really like the dark brown. I think it adds a lot of flavor. I'm doing this in my KitchenAid. Turn it down so y'all can see. So I've got 2 sticks of butter and 2 cups of brown sugar. Just going to mix that up a little bit. And I've got my regular paddle on the KitchenAid. I don't have the one that scrapes the side of the bowl, because I actually think this mixes it better. Turn it up a little bit. Get y'all a little closer here. Alright, so I'm going to add, it calls for 2 eggs, so I'm going to add 1 egg. In there. We'll add a 2nd egg. Then turn it up a little more. Alright, that's mixed pretty well. Cut that down. Now, I like to add my vanilla at this point. So it calls for 1 teaspoon of vanilla. I had to get me another bottle of vanilla because I was just about out. Okay, there's 1 teaspoon of vanilla. And I also like to put my salt in there. It's calling for 1 teaspoon of salt. So I'm just going to try to scrape some of that in there. And I didn't put quite a teaspoon since the butter is salted. Alright, let's mix that up now. That looks good to me. Alright, now we add the pumpkin, and this is a 15-ounce can of just plain pumpkin. So I'm going to take that up now so I can get this in. I'm just going to stir up that bottom a little bit. Oh, that already smells good. That's just the butter and the pumpkin. And that brown sugar. Alright, let's go ahead and mix this all up now. Oh, wait, and she said, let's see, then we're going to add the sour cream too. So this is 1/2 cup. Is that right? Yeah, 1/2 cup of sour cream. Put that in. Put all that in there. All right. Now let's mix this. We're just going to keep mixing this till it gets mixed up really, really well. And y'all, I'm going to leave her comment and the recipe that she sent right down below in the description on this video. It'll be in the Show More section, right down below the video. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and add the spices now, and the recipe calls for, let me find it on here, 2 teaspoons of pumpkin pie spice. That's that. I actually had to buy some of that because I didn't have any. So we're going to dump that in. That's 2 teaspoons. And we'll mix some more. Alright, we're going to scrape down the sides now. Now I wanted to mention that I sprayed my pound cake pan with the Baker's Joy. It works really, really well. It works better to me than, greasing it up with Crisco. But anyway, if you can buy this in Walmart. Alright, so I've got my pan all sprayed. Alright, so we've added all of the wet ingredients. Just throw the sides down a little bit. Stir up the bottom. Boy, this smells good. It smells like fall, for sure. This would be a great cake to have for Thanksgiving, too. Now, in her comment, she did say that she did not put any kind of icing on this cake. And I don't think I'm going to put any on it either because I think it's, plenty rich enough. So let's mix it a little bit more. Alright, so I'm going to mix up my dry ingredients, and that's going to be 30 cups of flour, and this is all-purpose flour. And in here we've got a little bit of the salt still in there. 2 teaspoons of baking powder and 1 teaspoon of baking soda. So I'm going to dump that in with my flour. And y'all, I did sift my flour and then measure it, because she didn't really say on here to do that, but I pretty much always do that when making cakes. So mix that in. Now I'm going to go ahead. She said to fold in the dry ingredients, but I'm afraid I'm going to have to use my mixer to do that. So I'll just put it on low and just put a little bit in at a time. With the first spoonful. the dry ingredients. All right, now we need to stir it down on the sides again. Stir it up from the bottom. It's really thick. But it should be a very, very moist pound cake, and it's really going to be quite spicy with the 2 teaspoons of pumpkin pie spices on it. All right, let's mix it just a teeny bit more. That's pretty well good enough. We don't want to over mix it once we add the flour. Scrape off these. Alright, that's about the best we can get that. Now the next thing we're going to add, and the final thing, will be some roasted pecans, or pecans as y'all would say, or some of you. And what I've done with that, I took about 2 teaspoons of the flour out, and I mixed them in with the nuts so that they don't all sink to the bottom on the pound cake. And the other thing is they're roasted. So the way I did this, these were whole half pecans, so I just put them in my toaster oven on bake at 350 degrees for about 10 minutes. And the other way you can do it is just put them in the oven until you can smell them. And I like to say when you can smell them when you stand right at the oven. You don't want to over roast them. And what that does is brings out that strong pecan taste when you roast them like that. So I just again mixed 2 teaspoons of the flour that I had sifted out for the cake. All right, let's take this out of here and mix those nuts in. All right. Let me move this out of the way. All right, so now there we've got our mix. And I'm just going to dump these nuts in. It's a 3/4 of a cup of roasted pecans. I'm just going to fold them in like that. Now again, the oven is preheated to 350 degrees, and we're going to bake this for 55 to 60 minutes. I'm just folding those nuts over there. And again, that little bit of flour on them will prevent them from just all sinking to the bottom of the cake. All right, we're ready to dump it into the cake pan. And again, I sprayed the pan with the Baker's Joy, which I think works a lot better than putting the Crisco and all that in there. It just works really well. In fact, I haven't had a cake stick since I started using that, and it was recommended to me by multiple viewers. All right, so we're going to dump this in there now. Spread it out. It's Saturday night here, and Mr. Bucky is watching the Carolina game on TV. And he cannot be disturbed when he's watching a football game. Unless, of course, his team is losing, and if they're losing, he just goes to sleep. Boy, this smells so good. I love those spices in there. Very much like fall. Get all that out of there. Of course, I drip some down the side. Alright, so we're just going to spread this out in there now. By the way, I'm really enjoying all the recipes. Of course, Mr. Bucky is super enjoying them, and we're having things that we've never had before, like the acorn squash. I was so taken with the recipe with the acorn squash. Let me show you. I went and bought 4 more of them because Mr. Bucky said that he wanted a whole acorn squash. He wanted both halves next time we had that. So anyway, all right, y'all. So we're ready to put this in the oven, and we will see y'all back in 55 to 60 minutes if I can find a clean finger to cut the camera off. All right, y'all, we'll be back. When this is done, I'll show you what it looks like. Hey, while the cake is cooking, I want to come back and mention something to you and ask y'all a question. I could not find any more pumpkins today. I looked last week and they only had the big pumpkins and no little pumpkins, so I went to another store. I went to the Bilo that's down the street from Walmart, and I found these. But the way I found them is they had faces painted on them, and I got 2 of them, and that just comes right off. You can just wash it right off. But the way I got these is they were on a display. Our Bilo in the next town over had 1 pumpkin sitting outside, 1. So finally I saw the produce manager out front there, and I asked him what was going on with the pumpkins, and he said, I just don't have any idea. He said, we can't even get them anymore. And he said it might have something to do with the growing season, because of course here in South Carolina we had a lot of rain, but I'm not sure where these come from. Let me see if it tells. It just says Baby Produce USA. It doesn't tell where they came from. But anyway, I got 2. And so this coming week, what I would like to do is cook something inside like the wild rice and chicken and celery, onions and all that right in it. And I think like one of these would make about 2 servings, maybe 3 and 4 if you had 2 children probably. But I'm going to definitely do that. And of course with the acorn squash, Mr. Bucky fell in love with them, and really I did too. They were just absolutely delicious. So we're going to be doing some stuff with those this coming week too. But someone mentioned about a website that had a recipe on it. I remember wild rice and some other stuff, but I want to use it with some chicken, some cooked chicken, like part of the thigh I always take off for us, and then the dogs get the darker part. And I've got about 2 cups of that frozen, so I want to do that in one of these pumpkins and give that a try. Anyway, we'll be back when that cake gets done. Let me get this kitchen cleaned up. Alright, I just took the cake out of the oven. In my oven it cooked for 55 minutes, and it's definitely got the whole house smelling like it's fall, all the spices. Anyway, we're going to let it cool in this pan, I don't know, 20 or 30 minutes even, and then take it out. And I don't think I'm going to ice it either. I think it's sweet enough that it doesn't need any icing probably. Alright y'all, we'll see in a little while. We'll cut a piece of it and see what it looks like. Alright y'all, here's the cake, and it is super moist. Look at this. Now I had to go ahead and cut it. It's still warm, and so it kind of crumbled a little bit because I didn't let it cool, because I wanted a taste of it really, really bad. So I can tell you that it probably doesn't need any icing at all, and I think it would be fantastic with a cup of coffee. Yeah, it is really, really good, y'all. All right, y'all, we will see you next time. I don't know if you can see how moist it is. Let me see if I can cut this light on. There. It is just super, super moist. Now, it only cooked 55 minutes in my oven, and I think it could have probably come out of my oven at about 50 minutes. But it is delicious. Got the house smelled all like fall. All right, y'all. We will see y'all next time.